Oh man, I screwed it up again. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly, this Tuesday, 8:10, 9:10 p.m. Hey, Heidi, good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for the love. Um, you know, Sunday was a crazy show, and I don't know who's going to. Cindy, hello. And it was well worth it because I thought about it and I listened to it. I was like, well, it was okay. It was pretty good. Steven, Mr. Wojo, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. But so how was, I guess, the start of everybody's week? I guess it's okay. Yeah, I can't wait for it to get a little bit colder than what it is right now. This heat is just like crazy, really crazy. But I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio 105. Hey, Holly, good to see you, hon. 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. Sebastian Moran, good evening to you, sir. And also, yeah, 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. And, you know, it was like fate for my guest to come on tonight. Okay. I mean that too. And well, after my show last week, not this Sunday, but the following Tuesday, past Tuesday, my friend Rhonda, she asked me, to talk to this young lady, and I did. We chatted a little bit, and I asked her to come on the show, and she like really said, "Yeah, thank you," and she was like kind of excited about it. She's really nice lady, very intelligent, smart, and she talks about the Appalachia, and we're going to get into that later on. But one more announcement I need to make. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m., I am going to be on Agents of the Unexplained podcast with Bill Rigby. I will be on at 7 o'clock with him, and I'm really excited about that. I had Bill Rigby on my show here last month, and you know what? He's a good dude, man, really good dude. And I'm looking forward to that. So tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I am going to be on the Agents of the Unexplained podcast with Mr. Bill Rigby. Now, before I introduce the guest, I have to look on my phone and read her bio, which is like really cool because I don't know how to cut and paste and stuff like that. So, Heather Moser grew up in the foothills of the Appalachia, and her heart is squarely on collecting spooky tales from the region and diving into the historical and genealogical records. She is a classics professor, author, and researcher. She is most proud of her roles as a researcher and producer for the film production company Small Town Monsters and helping launch Small Town Monsters Publishing. You can read some of her work in the first, third, and fifth volumes of the Feminine Macabre and into the Frey Weird Writer blog archives. You can catch her talking with other storytellers on her podcast, The Lore You Know. That's the name of her podcast, um, The Lore You Know. So, without further ado, I am going to bring in Miss Heather Moser, and we're going to hear her story. Hello, Heather.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. Thanks. And I've got to thank Rhonda if you popped in there and didn't show up.
Yes.
Rhonda, thank you very much. Um, how I got to know you, hear about you, was Rhonda. She had an antique store down in Charleroi, PA. And I do believe Heidi says hello.
Hi, Heidi.
And she said that you wanted to investigate her antique store.
hmm
It, I guess it just didn't work out right.
Yeah.
And so tell us about you.
So I am pretty much what the bio said. I'm a researcher and producer for a small independent documentary film company out of Ohio here called Small Town Monsters. And we make documentaries about cryptids, paranormal things, UFOs, stuff like that. All kinds of weird. You can check us out on YouTube or Amazon Prime or Tubi. Some of our movies are on Tubi. We've got series content, like stuff comes out every week for us on YouTube as well. That's all free to watch. Um, but I'm also an author and have written things about the Bell Witch or headless ghosts, all kinds of weird stuff, little folk tales and things like that. Just things that I have felt were interesting, intriguing, and weird. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much me. Oh, and I am a professor as well. That's my
Oh,
part-time
really?
job.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm a
really?
professor of classical studies, so Roman and Greek history. Um,
Oh, wow.
that's my second job.
That's your second job.
Yeah,
Uh, second full time job, may I ask?
second part. Well, the Small Town Monsters is full time, and the teaching is part time.
Ah,
So
okay.
1.5 jobs, I guess.
1.5. Michelle,
Yeah.
hello. Mr. Wojo said, hi, Heather. And
Hi.
my buddy Stone, he says, hi, roomies. Hey, Stone, go to see it jumping in tonight. What is the show called on Tubi?
So if you just look up Small Town Monsters, I don't know what all we have on Tubi right now. I would imagine American Werewolves is on Tubi. I think Dogman Territory. I'm not completely certain what all has been picked up by Tubi right now. But if you look up Small Town Monsters, you should be able to find all of our stuff that's on there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to get to your bio here. But first of all, tell, I would like to know, because ladies and gentlemen, I did ask her, I do want to kind of like get to know about the Appalachia. And so I might have her on the show again, talk about that. But what impresses you about the Appalachia?
So I think more than anything, it's the people. Um, because everywhere that I've gone within Appalachia so far, it's felt like home. The people are nice and they're hardworking and they're caring and giving. Um, Obviously, even the landscape feels like home. You got the mountains, or where I am, it's the foothills, but it's not long before you're in the mountains. Um, and it's just beautiful scenery and green everywhere. Way different than when I've gone and visited out west, where everything seems dead. uh, and it's not, but it feels that way because it's just not as lush as it is here. And I don't know. It's got to be the people that make it what it is. It makes it home.
Hmm. That's I can understand that. Um, For everybody's information, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is in the Appalachia. We're
That's
the
right.
biggest city in the Appalachia. That makes me proud. Maybe that's why I'm like connected to the thing. But
Yeah.
you say that you got these spooky tales, collecting spooky tales. Um, how do you go finding those spooky tales? Um, or do you just look up online, or do you actually sit down with people who know about these stories?
So I've done both of those things. There's obviously Facebook or any online forums are a really good place to start for finding spooky tales, but there are books that have been written that are regionalized that help you narrow down the areas that you're wanting to look for. Actually, there was just a I'm from Carroll County, Ohio, and so a book just came out, Haunted Carroll County, Ohio. Just
Mm-hmm.
came out by Janice Ganhorn Lane. Um, so books like that are invaluable to look into, but also just talking with people. I found that if you start talking and you're clearly open, then people usually have a spooky story to tell. Even if you come right out and say, "Hey, do you have any scary stories, any spooky stories, any ghost stories?" And they're like, "Ah, no, no, I don't." And you talk to them for a little while, and when they realize that you are not going to be judgmental, then pretty soon they'll be like, "Well, there was this one time,"
Right.
and then you start gathering these stories from people by bits and pieces. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much how I've come across them, or old newspaper archives like newspapers.com. Just go
Mm-hmm.
in and start searching keywords like ghosts or phantoms, and or if you're looking for cryptids, hairy man, Bigfoot, stuff like that,
Right.
and you'll come across them that way. Just narrow it down by state.
That's cool. Heidi says, I'm in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder's beautiful.
Stephen Bishop says, living in Appalachia, now I couldn't live in any other place.
Hmm.
And my friend Stony, she says, hi, Heather, what's your scariest encounter?
Scariest encounter. Well, let's see. The Probably what unnerved me the most was whenever I was on an investigation at Mansfield Reformatory, or it's also known as the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. It's where Shawshank Redemption was filmed back in the
Mm-hmm.
day. Um, and they have a place called the West Attic within the building, and it has a history of being a place where they had housed some inmates from the original Ohio Penitentiary back when the Ohio Penitentiary burned. But anyway, that the West Attic is known for like seeing ghost lights, spook lights fly across the room and stuff like that. And so we were up there in the room. It's got no windows. It's an interior room in the building, no windows, just one door, and we were waiting for the lights to just show up, and we did. We saw the lights start appearing, but then what manifested on the floor a decent ways down the room was like a full figure, light figure. So I guess the best way that I can describe it is the opposite of a shadow figure. It was a human form, but it was light.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't like blinding light or anything. Now he's been seen, or it's been seen enough that they call it the Glimmer Man, I guess, because it does glimmer, it shimmers a little bit. But it's a light, but it's pretty dim. Anyway, it would walk back and forth. It would walk toward us. It seemed to interact with us. We would ask it, to come closer, and it would come closer, and then it would actually get down and crawl at us, which I was not a fan of. The crawling part I could do without. Um, but that was the scariest encounter for me because I wasn't the only one there. And this I've seen it multiple times going back to the prison. It's shown up multiple times. But it's just something that shouldn't exist. So um, that's probably what's the most unnerving thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a story until you see it. But then when you see it and it's there, it's wild. I apologize for the cat acting up in the background.
Don't you dare apologize for the cat. I was going to say he did his rounds, and I guess he's
Yeah.
back up. What's the
Yep.
cat's name?
His name is Porcupine, or
Porcupine.
I call him Mr. Pine. Um,
Okay, everybody in the chat all over the world, meet Mr. Pine. Mr. Pine, meet my people here.
oh goodness.
Hey,
He'll
Casey,
be
good to
back.
see you. Good to see you. So you're also a paranormal investigator?
Yeah, I've gone to various places. Not I mean, I'm not um I haven't gone to tons and tons of places, but I have gone to a handful of places in the immediate area multiple times.
Okay,
Um, I've the farthest I've traveled for an investigation would be the Lizzie Borden house.
okay.
Um, so I've been there, and then various places in Ohio. I'm getting ready to this weekend go up to New York to the Hinsdale House
I was
and
there.
Wildwood
I was,
Sanitarium for the first time. I've never been to either of those places, so I'm
the
looking forward to
Hinsdale
it.
House is like really, it's spooky haunted. It really
Yeah,
is. It's good. Um, the
good.
best part of the house is that you got to go up in the woods, and when you get up here, you'll see what I mean.
Mhm.
There's a pathway up in the but I really, really did enjoy going to the Hinsdale House. Kason, how you doing, buddy? Stone says smiles. LO got 5 felines here. Lizzie B, one place I would have loved to go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, tell me about Lizzie Borden House. Now, it's been on TV, you know, but here's the way I look at TV shows that are paranormal, right?
Hmm.
Um, I have a hard time believing in some of the stories that I see on TV.
Hmm.
And I remember at the beginning, Taps was okay, right? But
Yeah.
as other shows came in, it just seemed like it took away the I don't know, some word, the thrill to go to
Yeah.
places. And look, I mean, Eastern Penitentiary out in Philadelphia at one time was $2,500 for an overnighter.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, so in order to you know pay less, you have to have a lot of people. And I don't know if you ever been on an investigation where there's like 50 to 60 people in an
Yes.
investigation.
You don't get
I
much done.
know you don't. Cindy Simpson says she loves cats.
Good.
Uh, Kaysen says, does Heather believe Lizzie did the murders?
I don't know enough about the case. When we went there, they gave us a tour of the house and then went through the story. And they make it seem like, at least on that tour, made it seem like she was set up. Um, but then there's a lot of evidence that says she did. So
Okay.
I honestly I don't know. It's not a case that I've looked enough into to be able to give you an honest opinion one way or another. But yeah, I don't know. I She could have. It sounds like the way that they set the tour up. It sounds like there's definitely a way that it could have been her, with
Hmm.
some help of other people. But
Right.
um, I don't know honestly.
That's okay. Heidi says, I love kitties too. Lizzie Borden has the same birthday as me, July 19th. Oh,
Oh,
wow. You know what? I can guarantee it. Heidi is no, I mean, Lizzie Borden is nowhere near Heidi, man, because Heidi's she's an angel, man. She has good energy. Heidi's good people.
awesome.
Stoney says, can you give a rundown of the equipment you use on a hunt? And
Mhm.
have you ever had EVP confirmation that no one would have known?
So as far as the EVP stuff, I have recorders, but I very rarely use them, and mostly because if I leave them recording for a long time, then that's just hours of recording that I have to go back through and listen. And it's very difficult to sit down for hours and just listen to an audio track. Um, but I do have recorders. I just don't use them very often. But I'll use things like the K2 meter. the millimeter. I use a spirit box for the Estes method primarily. Um, those are the things that I have immediately. I even have, which it's not here on my desk right now, but even those little motion activated cat balls
Oh
that
my
light
God,
up.
they're the best. They're the best.
Yeah.
They're the
I
best.
had a bunch that I just bought because I wanted to have new ones to bring to the Hinsdale house because they're also as cool as they are easy to malfunction and break.
Yes.
So I needed new ones. But yeah, that's the equipment that I have a music box, a motion activated music box. It's not the fancy ones that you see on TV that cost like $500. This is like a
Right.
3D printed one that was way cheaper than that because I wouldn't be able to do the $500 pieces of equipment. But it's a motion activated music box, and that seems to go over pretty well depending on the place. Um, but yeah, those are the pieces of equipment that I personally have and will bring to an investigation. But then I have friends that have other pieces of equipment, or if I go with like this weekend, the group that I'm going with, I'll be investigating with people that I've never investigated with before. So I anticipate they'll have pieces of equipment that I don't
Oh,
have.
you're going to have somebody with you when you do this, aren't you? Are you
I
going by?
will.
I hope
I will
so.
be. I will be going. I'll be driving myself up there, but I'm meeting people that I've known for a while online,
Okay. Good.
but I've not investigated with them before.
Okay.
But we know each
Okay.
other. We've seen each other online and everything. I'm not meeting up with strangers, I promise.
Okay. Good. Good. That's just that's just me. Just like I don't know, being a dad or whatever. I don't know. But
Yeah.
Kaysen wants to know: have you done the Delco method?
I don't know what that is.
What is that, Kaysen? Or are you talking the Estes method, Kaysen? Yippity, safety first, smiles.
That's
You
right.
got to have safety, man.
Mm,
Um, I've been doing the paranormal for over 30 years and had PPS for 18, 19 years. And I love it, man. It was just a great thing. But I have to be honest with you, I'm getting old. And staying out till 2 o'clock in the morning is like way past like my bedtime. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I can't do it no. But I do get to help other people out. Estes method is one I would love to try. And, I'm going to play devil's advocate here on this, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I saw it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only way that, to me, that would be a pure, you know, equipment or pure answers if they had a microphone inside the ears, you know what I mean, into the headpiece, and
Mm-hmm.
actually hear the answers that are coming from the ghost box. Do you understand what I mean?
So it would be the same then as if they were to play it just openly without the
Yeah,
headphones.
basically, yeah.
Mm,
Um, but you still can be blindfolded. You know what I mean? It's
mm,
just, I don't know, little instant, you know what I mean? Little things like that. I guess
yeah.
I'm an old timer, paranormal investigator. But I don't know. But I have done investigations with people who has done that method. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it works. Because
Mm-hmm.
but Kaysen says Delco is wearing pulsating light goggles
Oh.
while doing the ESTS.
Mm.
I never did that. Never saw it.
I've not done that. I imagine that would help you get into a more like a meditative state while you're listening for words. But no, I haven't done that. I would
Okay,
not be opposed to doing that, but I've not experienced it.
too much lights. Too much blinking lights, man. I remember one time, real quick, that we did an investigation, and this was a long, long time ago, where digital cameras was the main thing. You
Mhm.
know, and oh my God, we were in a theater, and all these lights were going off at the flashes. Oh
Yeah.
wow, I was going like crazy and nuts. But back to you, okay. Um, looking at you at your bio here. So so take us through production or before the production of one of your shows for Small Town Monsters?
So, like any of the films or shows that we put on YouTube, I mean, it starts with an idea of whatever. Say it's a movie, we have an idea of like a cryptid or a topic that we want to cover. Um, and then it's kind of, I mean, at this point, it's narrowing down locations as well. So, like the most recent thing that came out was On the Trail of Bigfoot, the Ancients, and that was centered in Smoky Mountains in North Carolina.
Okay.
Um, so that that helps whenever we have a topic, and then we've got the area narrowed down. Then the next thing that I get to do is try to find both experts, and although for ancients we already had a couple experts that we wanted to talk to, but experts and witnesses in the area, try to find them, contact them, see if people are willing to talk to us. And a lot of times you run into either people are willing from the get-go to talk, or they will immediately tell you no, or they're unsure. In the case that they're unsure, then luckily for me, because we have so much stuff online, I can just show them what we do.
Hmm.
And because usually the hesitation is more like, I don't want to be made a mockery of, right?
Right, right,
Um,
right.
so if I show them what we've made and can say, let the work speak for itself kind of thing, this is what we do. I promise you, we're not going to make fun of you. That helps. But then it's finding the witnesses, finding the experts, and then trying to get everything aligned into a very short, tight schedule. Um, because we're usually only able to film anywhere from 3 to 5 days, and that's it. That's counting travel days as well for us.
Okay,
So
okay. So
it's
you have a plan. You have a plan to go in and do, and this is after you get all the people to talk, correct?
Yep, you get everybody that agrees to talk, and then you say, okay, can we meet you, or can you meet us on such such a date at such such time, and then hope that everything lines up in the short amount of time that you have.
Does it
Um,
usually line up?
it usually does. There have been occasions where people have backed out. Um, Sometimes they'll back out ahead of time. Other times it doesn't happen often, but it has happened where people have backed out like the day of. They've just not shown up. They don't call, they don't text or anything. They just don't show up. And
Right.
so the crew's sitting there waiting and they never appear. Uh, which is fine. I understand people get nervous and stuff. It only makes it difficult for us to keep the schedule going too if everything gets thrown off kilter that way, but it's fine. Um, so yeah, we try to schedule everything in as close as possible, because when we're on the road, it's go, go, go.
Hmm.
And then we're back home, and then everything's out of my hands at that point because it goes to like Seth will start the edit, or Eli starts the edit, whoever's doing the film. If it's Alex does all of his own stuff anyway. um or Tyler, we have now too, but they start the edit process, and then the next thing that I get to do is sometimes, if it's a movie, I'll get to watch the early cuts and give feedback as to how things are going.
Hmm.
Or if there's any errors or whatever, point out like, hey, that this scene repeats, or whatever the minor error will be, and then it gets out there. But by the time a movie's out there, I have probably 3 or 4 times
Okay.
before it actually gets out to the public. And I know that I'm not the one who's seen it the most, because obviously the editor has watched it nonstop since he started editing it. Uh, so
Uh-huh.
countless times. But yeah, so by the time the finished product's out there, it's been watched many times by many people.
Right.
So if any errors get through, we are extremely sorry. We all failed.
Uh, no, no one fails in life. Bill Rigby says, "Hi, Sean, and the great Heather Moser."
Hi,
And,
Bill.
I'm going to be on Bill's show tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yes,
That's gonna be
7 o'clock.
fun.
Yes, yeah, I love the dude. He's a good dude, man.
Hmm.
Michelle said she had to switch devices, and she's saying hello to everyone.
Hello.
That was interesting. Back in 2012, me and a friend of mine we did a 13 show um, paranormal show. It was called Raw Fear, and unfortunately, we it was on TV, but we had to pay the station to put it on, and it was fun. It was fun. We
Mm-hmm.
did the shooting, we did the editing, everything, and it was
Yeah.
great. And what we did was we took a bunch of kids, 18 to 22, who never investigated in their life before, and and we told them and we showed them from their very first show as an investigator up to the 13th show, and come by the 11th and 12th show. What was really cool about it was I can put them up against any paranormal group that's on TV and they kick their butts. You know what I mean? Have you
That's awesome.
ever been to Prospect Place in Trimway, Ohio?
I haven't. I've heard about it.
You got to
I've heard that
go.
it's, yep, that's what I've heard. I just haven't had
Yes.
the chance yet.
You know what? If you do go, I mean, there is so much history down there. And what they did was, for all the monies they made off of all the paranormal investigating down there, they actually remodeled the mansion back to what it looked like back in 1902.
Oh, that's
And
perfect.
oh, it's gorgeous. It is so gorgeous and very haunted. Very Prospect Place was part of the Underground Railroad.
Hmm.
Listen, it is at the 31-minute mark, and I am going to take a little 70-second break. And so, anybody out there got to smoke a cigarette, go to the bathroom, get something to drink, you got 70 seconds. All right, hold on. All right, here we go. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Starting the second part of Into the Night with me, Sean Kelly, with my guest, Heather Moser. I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. I also want to thank Carnation 2 for sponsoring the show. Announcement real quick. I will be on the Agents of the Unexplained podcast with Bill Rigby tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So if you're not doing anything, come over to Bill's place and I'll be on, which I'm like truly excited to come on. So in your bio, Miss Moser. Okay. Um, so your work, we can read some of your work, right? What
Hmm.
is the feminine macabre?
So, the Feminine Macabre is a journal that was put together by Amanda Woomer, who goes by Spook Eats on Instagram. Um, it's just for all female writers in the paranormal community to come together and submit their work. And then she handpicks a handful to put into the journal. And you get a showcase of female writers from the community so that we have our own space. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what the journal is. And it covers pretty much what when you look at her call for papers, like her call for submissions, she's put in things like anything that would make your family uncomfortable to talk about at Thanksgiving that's spooky. right? That's what she once covered in The Feminine
Okay.
Macabre. So there's tarot, there's Ouija boards, there's ghosts, there's cryptids. It's just all kinds of weird strangeness
Hmm.
that is covered, and she's on the sixth volume just came out. She has submissions open right now for volume 7, so that'll be next year for 7.
Okay. And Frey Weird Writer Blog Archives. What is that?
Yeah, so Shannon LeGros is a podcast host for Into the Fray Radio, and she has a blog called Weird Writer, the Weird Writer Archives. And I wrote for her for a year or two, especially back when the pandemic was happening and we were all isolated in our homes. I was doing a lot of writing then, and I wrote a lot of blog posts for her at that point. So I was the one of the weird writers at the time. You can just find my stuff there. I talk about all kinds of stuff.
Kaysen says, has a question. He says, does Heather have an author that inspired her the most?
Um, I don't have one particular author that has inspired. I mean, obviously, is when it comes to books, I love J.R.R. Tolkien. So Lord of the Rings, that's inspirational in itself. But like current authors, I've got too many. It's pretty much anybody who has written something and then continues to write and follow that passion is an inspiration to me.
Like
Uh,
Stephen King?
yeah, so Stephen King is one of them. Yes, because he just writes nonstop. It seems like that kind of writing. That stuff I am so fascinated by, having these ideas and being able to put them on paper and then continue to do that. That's inspirational for me.
Hmm.
So
There he is again.
yeah, Mr. Pine's back.
Mr. Pine's back. He was missing us, so he had to come back. That's cool. No, it's okay to have your cats. But where do you come up with your ideas to write? Have you ever actually thought about writing your own cryptid story?
Yeah, I've written a handful of short stories that are like, so I've written the journal articles and I've written the blog posts, which are mostly uh like they're nonfiction, actual like learning tools. But then I've also written short stories as well that have been published in various things. And I've written about different creatures, whether it's a Wendigo or Goat Man, things like that. And um, I just I think about things that scare me and
Okay.
then write it that way. Or a lot of times I've had short stories come to mind because of nightmares that I've had. They kind of like write themselves as long as I can remember them when I wake up. But I'll wake up scared and then I just start taking notes in my phone right away. I'll roll over and grab my phone and start taking notes
Oh
and then
wow,
turn that into a story later.
that is awesome. Oh, I forgot to say, hey Joe Fox, good to see you, buddy. Yes, that's Joe. He's been watching me since I started almost. But so out of all the cryptids, including Bigfoot, okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
because I don't consider Bigfoot a cryptid.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's in its own little category by itself.
Yeah.
What is your favorite cryptid?
Favorite cryptid. So I always go by, when it comes to the idea of a favorite cryptid, I go by ones that scare me the most, ones that I would never want to see in person.
Okay.
Um, so that would be Goatman, Wendigo, and then I would never ever want to see a Dogman. So those would be my three, I guess, favorites because I would never, they're the most terrifying ones to me.
Do you believe they exist?
I do believe that they exist. Um, I mainly because with the people that I've talked to that have had these experiences, there's like they're seeing something. Now that could be, I suppose it could be something traumatic that they experienced while they were out in the woods, and then that manifests in
Right.
whatever way this is. But when you have multiple people having these experiences, then I think it's more difficult to just write it off. Um, so I don't know. I've talked with people who have seen all of these things, and they all seem rather credible to me. Um, I just don't. I don't know, and they don't seem better off for it. They don't seem like their lives are better having witnessed these things. They seem terrified, if not traumatized, with some of these creatures, especially Dogman. I can't think of an instance where people were feeling better after having that encounter.
Would you
Um,
consider the Dogman as a werewolf?
so that's difficult, because one of the things that we do with Small Town Monsters, we started writing books, or publishing books, not writing books, but publishing books. And we published 2 books about Dogman. And when writing about Dogman, you end up using the word Dogman and werewolf interchangeably, mainly because for a 200-page book to write Dogman over and over and over again gets redundant. So you end
Right.
up using the words interchangeably. But I also understand that folklorically and in myth, the werewolf is a human that changes, where the idea of a dog man is different in that it's just always a dog man. It
Okay.
doesn't do the shape shifting thing. So I recognize that there are 2 different things, but I will use the terms interchangeably. Um, I guess normally I don't think of werewolves unless I've talked with people who have actually seen a thing that looks like a dog man or a werewolf, with clothing on, as if it had just shapeshifted.
Right.
To me, that would be more of a werewolf than a dog man. If you want to differentiate them, but I will use both of them interchangeably unless we're going to get very specific.
Um, Now, oh, tell us about. No, no. I want to ask that question before we get out of here. Um, so, have you ever talked to the people who live in the Appalachian Mountains? Sit down and talk with them about different types of cryptids. I, to me, if I say hillbilly, I'm degrading them. You know what I mean? I don't want to say hillbilly. I want to say the people who actually live in the Appalachians.
Well, I mean, I've talked with people that live in Appalachia more than I've talked with people that live in other areas of the country, because we've done most of our, not all of our documentaries by any stretch of the imagination, but a large portion of our documentaries are based in this area because it's close to home.
Right.
Um, and so I've talked to a lot of people that live in this area. Um, yeah, I've talked to them about cryptids and ghost stories, and uh, I, yeah, they're great people. They have amazing stories, and they're just, I don't know, like family.
They're like down. Oh, I can understand that. They're like down to earth, aren't they?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I have family in Buchanan, West Virginia.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I do, and I love them to death. And I love, you know, haven't been
Hmm.
down to Buchanan maybe one time, and that was a long time ago. But
That's where
eventually,
my great
whenever I,
grandmother's from.
oh wow. Uh, Kaysen says, by the way, there's a YouTube channel called D's Dark Adventures, which many kind of cryptoids captured on camera.
Hmm.
He's just saying, yeah, gonna have to check that out, Kaysen. But
Hmm.
so tell us about your podcast.
So my podcast is called The Lore You Know, which is a play on the more you know, little thing that used to come across the PSAs that would come across the channels, especially on like PBS. But on that show, I talk to other people who are storytellers and story collectors, folklorists, and we discuss. The intro is the history of, inspiration behind, and importance of collecting and sharing regional tales. So a lot of people that I've talked to are ones that you also see in some of our Small Town Monsters documentaries or some of our shows on YouTube, um, or people that we've worked with in general. But we talk about, how did they get into this field, and what stories inspired them, what stories stick with them, and why do you continue in this field?
Mhm.
Why are you still here? Kind of thing, and why is it important? Um, but yes, that's the lore you know.
That I just put it in the chat room for
Awesome.
everybody to write it down, to check out your podcast. But yeah, this is like really, really interesting. Now, have you read up or whenever you go and do a film a show or something, is there any like information out there on how to protect yourself from like Dogman or something like that?
So I've heard different things, but I don't know anything in particular. Off the top of my head, I haven't really researched into different protection techniques. When it comes to like paranormal investigations, people have talked about bringing like quartz or obsidian, different types of stones with you when you go out on an investigation. Or when we were out in New Mexico and looking into skinwalkers, turquoise was a big thing,
Hmm.
um, to wear the stone turquoise. So I'll hear bits and pieces here and there, but when we're out and actually filming, very rarely are we in a position where we would actually run into something, because
Right.
a lot of our discussions are, people, it's like sit down interviews with people. If we do go out into the field, um, there's multiple people. It's not like, well, with the exception of like Alex or Eli, when they go out and do their things and it's just them, or Tyler, I suppose, they go out and it's just them. When we go out for some of the movies, it's a large group of people that are going out traipsing through the woods. So I don't know the odds of us sneaking up on anything, or anything really sneaking up on us. I mean, I guess it could sneak up on us because we're busy talking and it's traipsing through the woods and stuff, but we're not scaring anything when we're
Right.
out there.
That I hope not, because they'll
Yeah.
be looking at you like, hmm. So,
Hmm.
real quick, because we're running out of time here. Now,
Yeah.
um, you know that Bigfoot. Some people believe that they're interdimensional.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, do you think, with the help of UFOs, I believe that they travel with the UFOs to go into different dimensions? Because for all the Bigfoot sightings that I have read on, or I heard the stories about, I usually check the UFO activity in that area where it happened, and there's
Mm.
a ton of UFOs around whenever people witness a Bigfoot. What's your thing on that?
So that is really interesting. It reminds me of a story that I read from Stan Gordon's work, from the 70s, and I can't remember the exact date, where there was a UFO sighting and then actual multiple Sasquatch sighted in
Right,
the area of the UFO. And I I don't know. Part of me has wondered before if, when there's a UFO sighting, if they're not just as curious as we are, as to what is up there, what's going on. And so they happen to be seen at the same time because
right.
they're looking at the same thing we are. But you can't, I also feel like when it comes to this world, you can't really discount anything as a potential possibility, because once, I don't know, once you've experienced one weird thing, it's hard to discount other weird things or weird
Right,
things.
right.
So I can't say that that's not a possibility, because I can subscribe to the belief that they're interdimensional creatures as well, based on the stories that I've heard. Um, Not that I've ever seen one physically. I've heard them, I've been near them, but I haven't seen one physically.
Right.
Um, so to me, everything is open. Everything is a possibility. And even if I
Well,
were to see one, I don't know what I would think, because that would kind of break my reality as well.
true. You'd have to call Mr. Bill Rigby on that one. Check him,
That's
see
right.
what it is. Um, Listen, we're running out of time. How can people find you?
So you can follow Small Town Monsters and you'll see the stuff that I'm doing, watch the lore you know, or listen to the lore you know. Um, so anything Small Town Monsters, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is at Pagan Historian. That's my handle on Instagram. You can email me, Heather at smalltownmonsters.com. I'm on Facebook under Heather Moser, but I'm not the only one. So You'll just have to find the face
I'll
that
go
looks
for,
like
I'll go
mine.
for, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll go for the picture.
Yep.
Stoney, real quick, Stone says, thank you, Heather, for sharing. I always love anything paranormal. It's a way of life. Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Roomies, for sharing space and adventure. Thank you for
Oh,
being here, Stoney. Thank you again for being on. Okay.
yes. Thank you.
Um, don't forget, everybody, this Tuesday, I'm going to be on the Agents of the Unexplained with Bill Rigby tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And without further ado, I have to say this. Children, if you can, please go to your parents and give them a hug and tell them that you love them. Parents, please go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you have no parents, if you have no children, find somebody and give them a hug and tell them that you love them. Because those three words, I love you, go a long way. And on that note, good night, everybody, and see you next Sunday. Happy hunting.